Good morning, students. Welcome to our class Biological Science. Dear students, up to now we discussed about this reproduction. In the previous classes we discussed male reproductive system, female reproductive system, and the parts that present in it and their functions. After that we discussed the child birth. Now we are going into see the sexual reproduction in the plants. Okay, sexual reproduction in the plants. Sexual reproduction in the plants. Before going into the topic, we have to aware the importance of need for sexual reproduction. What is the need for sexual reproduction? We have already discussed the asexual mode of reproduction, sexual mode of reproduction. In the asexual mode of reproduction, there is a single organism and produces its babies. So, asexual mode of reproduction produce the babies by a single parent. Those are the similar or normally an identical copy of the parent. Do you understand the point? In the asexual mode of reproduction, the single parent is involved and produce the babies. Normally it has the identical copy of the parent. But in the sexual reproduction, the sexual mode of reproduction involves the two organisms and producing the babies in this method are developed the characters that from the both parents. In the asexual mode there is no new characters. It is an identical copy to the parent. But in the sexual mode of reproduction, it develops the characters from the both parents which are helpful to that new baby that can better survive in the nature. Do you understand? So in the asexual mode of reproduction is more efficient than the sexual one because it requires no time or no energy in finding the mates. But in come to the sexual mode of reproduction, it requires the time and finding the mates. It produces the babies that have the characters of the both parents and leads to the chances of evolution. Okay, so that is the importance of sexual reproduction. Do you understand? In the sexual mode of reproduction, there is a chance for the developing of new characters and it leads to the evolution process. Okay, so then come to our point, sexual reproduction in the plants. As far our scientists know about 2,75,000 species of 75 species of flowering plants. Okay, now as far we know 2,75,000 of flowering plants, 2,75,000 species of flowering plants with few exceptions. Okay, now almost all the flowering plants produce a seed which enclosed in the fruit. Okay, now all the flowering plants produce the seeds which are enclosed in the fruits. Okay, now come to the point. Okay, 2,75,000 of flowering plants is there with few exceptions and they produce the seeds which encloses in the fruit. The size of the plant ranges from the tons. Okay, now the range of plants. The size of range of plants weighing up to the tons to tiny water plants. Tiny water plant like in the size of rice grain. So see that one. The range of the variations in the plants. It's weighing from the tons to very water plants like which is in the rice grain size. All are flowering plants. If you observe the variations or if you observe the differences in the plants are the huge ones like sal trees which are growing in the Himalayan mountains to Okay, now orchids which grows on the jungle plants, on the branches of the jungle plants. They all are flowering plants. They show the different types of variations. Okay, now so now come to the how the sexual reproduction takes place in the plants. Generally, the sexual parts are present in the flowering parts of the flower. Okay, now the sexual parts are present in the flowering plants in the flower. Listen carefully. The sexual parts present in the flowering plant in the flower. There are different types of parts in there. So this is the flowering plant. Okay, the sexual parts of the flowering plant is located in the flower. There are different types of parts that are present in the flower. The sexual parts. One is the sepals. These are petals. Androecium. Zynoecium. So these are the parts that are present in the flowering plant. Now you can see the parts. So these are sepals. Look at carefully. The greenish color portion is sepals. After that, petals. So these are the petals. Petals protects the internal parts. Sepals attracts the insects for pollination. Okay. So these are insects are there inside, moth bugs. Okay, so see here, these are sepals, petals, so I removed. Okay, so these five are androecium, correct, androecium, and this one is zynoecium. I will explain about it one by one. Okay, now the flowering plants have either the sepals or the, listen carefully, the flowering plants have either androecium or the zynoecium is called unisexual flowers. Listen carefully. The flowering parts of the plant is present in the flower. They are sepals, petals, androecium and zynoecium. The sexual parts of the flower is androecium and zynoecium. The sexual parts of the flower is zynoecium and androecium, which produce the sex cells or germ cells. Okay, the flower which contains either the androecium or the zynoecium, it contains only one, either androecium or zynoecium. Those are unisexual flowers. Example, papaya and bodyguard. Next, the flowers which have the both zynoecium and androecium, they are bisexual flowers. Bisexual flowers. Okay, they are bisexual flowers. Here, come to this one, the androecium, the male portion, androecium is the male portion which produce the male sex cells. Okay, na, pollens. So androecium, male sex cells, okay, which produce the pollen. grains. Okay, the zynozium, female sex cells called ovules, is produced in the ovaries. Okay, dear students, so this is structure of this one. Okay, so in your book, what is there? Directly they have given stamen here, stamen, and this is carpel. So come to the point: sepals, petals. Listen carefully: sepals, petals, stamen, and carpel. These are the four parts. The male, the sex cells producing parts are carpel and stamen. Carpel and stamen. Okay? Carpel is the female reproductive part called zynozium. Okay? Carpel is zynozium, also called as zynozium. Carpel is the female reproductive part. Okay, now female reproductive portion which produce the ovaries, ovules in the ovary, called zynozium. Stamen is the male reproductive portion which produce the pollens. Okay, pollens called androzium. So, okay, sepals, petals, stamens and carpels. I have forgotten that I directly explained about the androzium and zynozium. But before going to that, they are known as stamens and carpels. Stamens are male portions called androzium. Carpels are female portions called zynozium. Okay. The androzium produce the pollens. The zynozium produce the ovules in the ovary. So if you observe the carpel, structure of the carpel, it has mainly three parts. One is, if you observe the structure of the carpel, that means zynozium has three parts. The first one is stigma. Stigma, it receives the pollen grains for the pollination. Next one is style. So, style is the second portion. It is the path of traveling of the compatile male sex cells through these styles and ovary, where the fusion of male and female gamete takes place. That is fertilization. Okay, now pollination here. Okay, so listen carefully, students. The plants either having the carpel or stamen, that is unisexuals. Carpel or stamen, that means androzium and zynozium. See here, bisexual flowers means the flowers having either the flowers having the both carpel and stamen, androzium and zynozium. Those are bisexual flowers. Examples: datura. I have taken example here. Okay, this contains both male portion and female portion. These five are male portions, anthers. This one is carpel, which contains stigma, style, and ovary. Stigma receives the pollen for the fertilization, pollination, for the pollination. The compatile male sex cells travels through this style and ovary, where the fusion of the pollen with the ovary for the pollination. Okay, for the fertilization, and the egg forms into zygote. Here you have to one point: reaching of pollen grain to the stigma is called pollination. Reaching of pollen to the stigma is called pollination. So listen carefully. Here is two types of pollinations. Okay, now the plant having the flowers, reaching of the pollen grains to the stigma of the same flower is called self-pollination. Example, in pea plants we can see this. Okay, the plants having the flowers reaching of male portion, that means pollens, to the female portion, to the ovary of the same flower is called self-pollination. Okay. In other case, reaching of male portion of the reaching of the male portion of the one flower to the female portion of another flower of the same plant or the another plant of the same species is called cross-pollination. Okay? So reaching of male portion sex cells to the female cells of the same flower is called self-pollination. Reaching of the female sex cells, reaching of the male sex cells to the female cells of the another flower of the same plant or the same species, or the plant of same species is called cross-pollination. So there is a simple difference here. Reaching of male sex cells to the female sex cells of the same flower is called self-pollination. Otherwise, reaching of male sex cells to the female sex cells of the another flower or another plant flower of the same species is called cross-pollination. Okay, so we can observe these pollen grains with the hand lens also. To do this, so the pollen grains have sac-like. If you observe carefully, it has the sac-like structure. The pollen grains have sac-like structure at its head bearing a ball-like structure. Okay, na? So which are called pollens. Okay, so listen carefully. It has, what is that one? The salmon has sac-like structure at its head. It bears a ball-like structure called pollens. Okay, so we can observe this pollen grains on the slide under the microscope also. For this one, we have a small activity. Take the flowers like triadax. Okay, na? From the flowers of triadax or the marigold. Okay, na? Marigold, you can collect it and tap it on the water and take a small drop of water which contains the pollen grains and observe under the microscope. Here you may observe this type of structure. Okay, so dear students, this is about the pollination or sexual reproduction in the plants. So you have to remind these points. So the parts are very important. These are sepals. These are petals. This is called stamen. This is called anther. Sorry, carpel. Here, the male portion, stamens are the male portion called androecium, which produce the male sex cells, pollen grains. The carpel is the female portion which produce the female sex cells. It is also called zynoecium, which produce the female sex cells. Okay, called ovules in the ovary. Okay, so reaching of these pollen grain to the stigma of the same plant is called self-pollination. Reaching of pollen grain to the stigma of the same flower. Otherwise, reaching of the pollen grain to the stigma of another flower of the plant or another flower of another plant of the same species is called cross-pollination. Okay, so this is about the sexual reproduction in the plants. Okay, thank you.